on air yet. Okay. All right, welcome to Coffee and Bullshit. This is the very first episode where every morning, time to read some stupid bullshit on the internet and have some coffee. It's a very creative concept. Today I am having, it's a standard coffee that I got from the gas station down the street because I just needed some coffee really quick. I didn't have any sort of coffee bean coffee that I could grind. So I rushed down there one day and just grabbed some generic, it's called Louis coffee. I needed something, so that's what I grabbed. And it's got a hazelnut creamer, and it's decent. All right, so let's read some bullshit. Today we are reading, it's on creationsciencestudy.wordpress.com, and it's a blog that's called Clever Questions Atheists Can't Answer. Exclamation point. Atheists use these. Yeah, you know you're dealing with a pretty simple mind when you use exclamation points. Christians. I mean, the only time I ever use exclamation points is when I'm using dialogue, writing dialogue for a character, and the character is shouting. If you use them in any other situation, it makes you look like an idiot. Especially if you use them in a note, if you're like a boss, employees, and you put an exclamation point at the end of your notes, you look like a freaking imbecile. Dear Christians, are you tired of atheists claiming they are more intellectual and smarter than Christians? Actually, they don't usually say this. Sometimes they will say this, but maybe you're just kind of getting that sense that they feel this way because of the way you feel when you speak to them. That's more of an emotional reaction on your end. Just because you feel stupid when you're speaking to somebody doesn't mean that that person is trying to make you feel stupid. Do you want to continue the good fight against the satanic secular machine that has hijacked this nation from being Christian? That's fucking, boy, if that was true, that'd be freaking awesome. Look no further. Here are a bunch of clever questions you can ask atheists. When they fail to answer these questions, show them the truth from the Bible and watch as they are led to the light. The way this guy sees the world, it must just be so comfortable to see the world the way this guy sees it. It's just like they're led by Satan, and he's gonna guess us these stupid questions that he thought of on the toilet or whatever, and we're gonna be led to the light, and we're gonna float to the sky like the angels. We're gonna be just like him. We're gonna think exactly the way he thinks, and so we deserve to go to heaven because we agree with him. Boy. So number one, here's this question. I cannot answer this, so I'm not even going to try. Creationists can't do science. Then why do Kent Hovind and Dwayne T. Gish, who are creation scientists, have professional degrees in science? There's a degree in science? I've never heard of that. What is it? There's like a study of science degree, but what is the professional degree in science they have? And I don't know what do science means. What the heck does do science mean? So I can't even answer the question because the question makes no sense. Who does science? I mean, like there's scientific studies people do. And I'm not saying creationists can't do scientific research. It's just creationism is not scientific. The reason creationism is not scientific is because you cannot explain to me. See, science explains how things happen, and if you can't tell me how you speak something into existence, then you don't have an explanation for how something happens. You're just telling me who did it. Telling me who did it isn't telling me how it works. Scientific explanations explain how things work. So you can't tell me how a spirit exists. And that's what creationism is all based on, the existence of a grand spirit, the grand creator who made the universe, and he's immaterial being, sometimes somehow is alive, even though he has no organs, he has no brain, he is not made of molecules, he has no cells, he has no heartbeat, he has no heart, and somehow he's alive and creates things by speaking them into existence with a mouth he doesn't have. That's not scientific, because you can't explain to me how any of that could happen. It doesn't mean it's not true. It's just not scientific. I mean, whether it's true or not, it's a different matter. Back to screen sharing. All right, I'm getting the hang of this. I just have to click. Okay, I'm going to the side of the screen. I click screen share. Now I'm back on what I'm looking at. Okay. If dinosaurs turn into birds, why are we not afraid of them? Is this guy a fucking Poe? Come on. I'll go with the article, even though I think this guy might be a Poe. He's already writing some really ridiculous things here. I really don't think that this guy's a real creationist. Anyway, I'll play along. I'm sure I think the guy's a Poe, because can't picture a serious creationist really thinking that's a serious question to dupe an atheist with. Anyway, if dinosaurs turn into birds, why are we not afraid of them? Because they're birds. I mean, I'm kind of afraid of ostriches. They can be a little dangerous, from my understanding. Certain birds might be dangerous to my dogs if I was on a walk. I mean, I have small dogs. We're usually scared of creatures that are large enough to hurt us. Fear of other creatures is usually pretty practical. It's kind of based upon. Well, I mean, sometimes it's not practical. Like, we're afraid of spiders. A lot of people have an inborn fear of spiders, even if the spiders that we live in our area are not dangerous. But usually with most mammals or avians, or other creatures like that, it's usually just based on the size of them that we're afraid of them. With spiders and snakes, we kind of make a special exception. We seem to be kind of especially scared of them. But we're not scared of birds because they're not big. Most of them anyway. If homosexuality is right, how come two people of the same sex not produce you can't even write a coherent sentence. You're supposed to be giving me clever questions. It's not a clever question if you can't even freaking write it correctly. If homosexuality is right, then how come no? Just put the word no there. No two people of the same sex. No. How come two people of the same sex cannot produce a child? I don't know. It's a clever question that isn't worded in a grammatically correct way. So how is that clever? Anyway, I'm not saying homosexuality is right. It's a totally neutral thing. It's not right or wrong. Of course, this has nothing to do with atheism. Plenty of Christians are tolerant of homosexuality too. And there are atheists actually that are against homosexuality or against gay marriage or speak out against it. Of course, ratio-wise, there are a lot fewer atheists that would be against homosexuality than Christians who would be for it, or at least fundamentalist Christians. Why am I not against homosexuality? Because it doesn't hurt anybody. It's as simple as that. Whether it doesn't produce a child is a different issue. Obviously, it doesn't produce a child. Mowing the lawn doesn't produce a child. And I think that's okay. And obviously, you probably do this. Drinking this coffee doesn't produce a child, and I'm doing that. Doing this video doesn't produce a child, and I think that's okay. Watching this video doesn't produce a child, and you're watching the video. So the only things that were right to do were things that produced a child. Well, the world would be kind of fun. Well, not really, because we'd have a baby at the end of the bed while you're constantly having sex. It wouldn't be a very responsible world if the only things that we're responsible to do would be things that produce a child. The only thing that would be right to do would be things that produce a child. That would be kind of a crazy world. Back to screen. How do I do this again? All right, screen share, screen share. Oops, did I really do that right? Sometimes I forget to click. Okay. Next one is, what purpose do we have if evolution is real? Well, you don't have an objective purpose, and I'm not going to lie to you there. I don't think it matters whether evolution is real or not as far as whether you have an objective purpose. Purposeness is a subjective matter, and you determine your own purpose to life. I can't determine your purpose for you, and you're not going to find your purpose written on a rock anywhere. But that would be the case even if there were a God. I mean, what's the purpose of God's life? To serve man? What's the purpose of man's life? To serve God? That's not an objective purpose. That's a tautology. It doesn't really get you anywhere. What's our purpose on life? To get to heaven? What will be our purpose when we get to heaven? Will there be another heaven after that? Well, it's to be with God forever and in love for eternity. Why don't God just make a bunch of love and just make the love be there? You know, you exist for God, God exists for you is not a reason, as a tautology. I could easily just say, well, I exist for my son and my son exists for me, except my son actually exists and I actually exist. So it's actually a much better reason because we actually exist. Make sure I'm clicking the screen share. I'm getting used to this system. Okay, back to screen sharing. Okay. You say Jesus never existed, but have you heard of the Shroud of Turin? Yes, I have heard of the Shroud of Turin. I don't know of any atheists who goes around discussing religion often who's never heard of the Shroud of Turin. They have done various tests on, well, for one thing, people have produced shrouds of Turin that are exactly like the shrouds of Turin we have. It's through this process where you blow dyes at a cloth. And we know that this process is how the Shroud of Turin was made because we have an actual recipe for how to make a thing like the Shroud of Turin from that period, from the place where it was made. It was made in, you know, Jerusalem, and there were people back then hawking these shrouds. It wasn't the only one. We have a lot of documentation that there were a lot of these going around. Why do we not see human beings born in the zoos from monkeys if we came from monkeys? That's not how evolution works. Again, I suspect this guy's a poet. That is such a stupid question. The other thing I found funny when questions like that, because I mean, I have gotten questions from Christians that are literally that stupid. But usually I don't get so many of them all in tandem like this. Because these are like exceptionally stupid questions, all one after another, which makes me expect that this is a Poe. Poe is, I don't know if you're not familiar with what a Poe is. It's based on this concept called Poe's Law. And satirizing a Christian apologist or a atheist critic or whatever is indistinguishable from the real deal. So sometimes if they're being so ridiculously silly, you can't honestly tell if that's actually a real Christian who's just stupid, or if it's a person making fun of them. Because you really can't make it funny. So if this is a person is a Poe is trying to make me laugh by doing this, it's really impossible because the real Christians, the real creationists I encounter, are stupid often, not all the time. But what makes me suspicious of this is because so many of these questions are just one dumb one after another dumb one, and then it's the misspelling, and I'm thinking it might be a Poe, but I'm going to go ahead with answering the questions anyway, as though it isn't a Poe. So why don't we, here's a question again. Why do we see humans being born in zoos and monkeys? Monkeys, we came from monkeys. Evolution does not claim that we came from monkeys. And the You did not come from a monkey's vagina. No species gives birth to a member of the different species unless it's a hybrid. What the thing I always find funny about that particular question, though, and I've heard that particular question kind of asked different ways, is that the person who's asking it can't between a monkey and an ape, yet he's trying to say evolution isn't real. So what are you saying, that monkeys and apes come from a common ancestor? You can't even tell the difference between the two of them in your question. Evolution claims that our closest living relative is the chimpanzee, which is an ape. It's not a monkey. And you can't even tell the difference between that. Chimpanzees are very different from monkeys. They're a lot more different from monkeys than they are from us, especially in the sense of the DNA. And you really think they have a common ancestor. You don't think we have a common ancestor with chimpanzees. It's a bit stupid. Well, not only do you not think they don't have a common ancestor, you can't even tell the difference between them. Okay, we do have a common ancestor with old world monkeys or catarrhine primates. And it goes back quite a ways. What happened was, I mean, I'm actually answering this as though this person's actually serious. Anyway, what happened was he had kids, had baby monkeys, and then they grew up and they had baby monkeys, and then they grew up and they had baby monkeys, and they grew up and they had baby monkeys. And those monkeys adapted to their environment over time. This was, and as they adapted their environment over time, they became more accustomed. When you adapt to your environment, you have more babies than you would have had otherwise, because more of your babies survive. And then so what happens is there is a population boom, and a lot of those babies end up moving into other places. The future generations do, and when they do that, they're moving into places that they're not adapted for anymore. So once they move to those new places they're not adapted for anymore, they adapt. Those different generations that are not in that original place have to adapt to that new environment, and they change so that they're different from the group that stayed there. Then the same thing happens again, and it happens again over a long period of time. And eventually you end up with a species over here in this very different area that is very much different than that original one. This process continues and continued and continued and continued over many, many, many generations, thousands of generations, until it produced a creature that was so different from the first one that they could not interbreed anymore. Then they became a different species. Repeat this process numerous times, and you end up with the human lineage, and the chimpanzee lineage, and the gorilla lineage, and the orangutan lineage, and all those other lineages. They split off, and they split off again. It's about as simple as I explain it. Nobody comes from the vagina of a chimpanzee. No human does. Monkeys come from monkeys, and humans come from humans. A baby knows that, and that's what evolution claims. Show screen again. Why do we go to church if God is not? This has got to be a poll. I should stop saying because I'm kind of ruining the video. Why do we go to church if God is not real? You go to church if God is not, because you believe in God. I mean, I don't know. You want me to dissect that question any more than that? How did the Grand Canyon form? From my understanding, it was formed by the Colorado River over a long period of time. Do you know that Jesus loves you? Well, you said it 7 million times. I know the character in the Bible. Does the character in the Bible claim he loves me, or does Paul just say that? Not really so sure. I have to look up the Bible on that. I know that you say he loves me. I know he's dead, and dead people can't love. Christianity is false, so why is it popular? Well, a lot of beliefs that are false that were popular because people aren't always informed, and there's a human people have a person's stance interpretive bias, which means that they have an inborn tendency to personalize the world they live in. So what that means is because we're very intense social creatures. In fact, it's probably the one trait that human beings have in most abundance, even if you know, disposable thumbs and all that kind of thing, or our mechanical abilities, or even our linguistic abilities. We are extremely social creatures. So we think in social terms, which is why we have what's called a personal stance interpretive bias. So we see and this applies even to our view of nature. So we view the nature in a personal context. We view our life in a personal context. So we think that the events in our lives are working towards some purpose, because that's what a person would organize. So we personalize everything. We personalize nature. Who made those things out there? We think questions like that, which are really weird questions, but they're actually kind of normal for an extremely social creature to think about who made, you know, the tree. But anyway, that's going to influence us to be religious. I mean, you know, it's inevitable that religions will exist. But as far as if everybody believes something, doesn't make it real. I mean, people believe majorities of populations have believed all kinds of stupid things in history, and still do. I mean, if you ask 9 out of 10 Americans, they'll tell you that sugar makes kids hyper, and it doesn't. Or that colds are caused by cold weather, and we've known for decades that neither of those things are true. But all kinds of things people, and they used to believe that bloodletting would cure mental illness. They used to think that plagues were spread by bad smells. I mean, people used to think that the reason things fall is because they come from the earth and want to come, and like they get homesick, so they want to fall back to the earth again. I mean, it's not a good. You're not making a good case for something being true by saying it's what most people believe. Never at any time in history will we make a good case saying that, and certainly not now. If you say Christianity is not true, why do hundreds of people continue to be saved every day for what I just said? Most people become saved as children when they're too young to actually digest what their parents are saying. Usually children trust that their parents are experts on the things they're saying, or that they have firsthand knowledge of the things they're saying. And so they're able to control their children's minds that way. It's an act of dishonesty on their part. They say, oh, Jesus is real, and Jesus loves you, and God's real, and the Bible's true. When they don't know any of that, and the kid thinks the parent has some kind of firsthand knowledge when the parent doesn't. So the parent's actually taking just advantage of their child in that instance. But most people convert to Christianity while they are children. Why do we not see half trees and half carrots, Frankies, and crocoducks? This is a fucking Poe. He knows about crocoducks. Only a person who knows about Ray Kroc knows about crocoducks. You're a Poe, you're a Poe, you're a Poe. Anyway. Trees, carrots didn't evolve from trees. Frankies. I don't know. That's a Frankie. Is that a dog and a donkey? Donkeys did not evolve, are not close relatives of frogs. And crocodiles and ducks are not close relatives. A lot of things we point out a lot of times is that a crocoduck actually would be proof of creation. Since actually all of these things would be proof of creationism. Because none of these things are closely related according to evolution. So if you had like a half amphibian, half mammal, that would prove creationism, because the creationist view is that God just kind of mixes and matches characteristics. While the evolutionary view is that common traits often, not all the time, come from a common ancestor. Sometimes there are cases of convergent evolution where two creatures evolve similar characteristics to adapt to similar environments. But the reason we don't find any half amphibians, half mammals is because they're on totally different sides of the evolutionary tree. At least the current amphibians are. The branch that evolved into other things weren't that way. But anyway, the mammals came from what are called coelodonts, which are called dog teeth mammals, who came from synapsids. And they're were a form of reptile, well, sort of a form of reptile, quasi. Anyway, if we found something like a mixed and matched donkey amphibian, it would prove creationism, because it proves that your God's just mixing and matching characteristics. Have carrots, have trees would be the same deal. God's just mixing and matching things. Crocodiles, same deal. God's just mixing and matching things, because crocodiles and ducks are in totally different parts of the reptilian lineage. And that can only be possible if they were mixed together, if they were God, or if they were a grand creator. Why is Richard Dawkins afraid to debate Ray Comfort? Because I don't think he's afraid to debate Ray Comfort. Ray Comfort's kind of was way beneath Richard Dawkins. You know, Christopher Hitchens was saved before death. That is a lie. God damn it, this is a Poe. I'm freaking falling into a Poe trap here. I am debating a goddamn Poe. He was not saved before death. This is a lie that they said about that. Sorry. Charles Darwin's wife spread that rumor about him. It's one of those things that when atheists die, we're talking about these the other day, that we want to make a lot of us were saying after they were spreading these lies about Christopher Hitchens converting right before his death, that we want to make like at least I do. I want to make a video of myself saying, and they could play it at my funeral, but after everyone else has spoken. So they all come up, and all my dumb relatives have already spoken. And someone said, I think he probably found Jesus before he died. And then at the very end, they're going to show a video of me saying, I did not convert to Christianity, and anybody who says I did does tonight is a freaking liar. And boy, would that be fun. That'd be a fun farewell. That would really get some of those assholes. But I'm sure, if I died tomorrow, I guarantee some of my relatives will pull the same shit that they pulled with Christopher Hitchens. They'd be saying that I converted before I died, just to make my funeral more bearable for them. Yep. How do atheists form? Okay, why do people laugh at evolutionists? And it's deliberately spelled wrong. That's another. This guy's such a Poe. Why did planets form when the Big Bang explosion all of a sudden happened? How did planets form? Big Bang happened a long time before the planets formed. After all, you don't see round objects form when something blows up. The planets formed way after that. Our sun is a third generation. Oh, is it a second generation or third generation? It's a second generation star. The solar system was once one thing. Round objects do form in space from molten objects. If something's in space and it's molten, it will form a round object. And then after it cools, it'll stay round. Evolution is real. How can you explain gravity, angular momentum, human emotions, and why worship God? It doesn't explain those things. It has nothing to do with those things. This guy's a fucking Poe. How did pond scum make living things appear out of nowhere? It didn't. Pond scum. I guess pond scum is supposed to be what we would mean like proteins in the water, which we know did exist. I mean, by the Miller-Urey experiment, showed that in certain conditions and in early Earth atmosphere, proteins will just appear. But they didn't. Calling them living at that point would be a little stretch of the imagination. There was self-replicating molecules. We're going to call those living things by our definition of what is alive. Would be a little liberal. I'd say you never could have decided a certain point where the ancestors or descendants anyway of these self-replicating molecules were alive, quote unquote, whereas their fathers or parents were not alive, because evolution is always a very gradual process. It took a heck of a long time for the cell to develop too. How can evolution be true if we don't see pocket watches or airplanes form by themselves? You fucking Poe. How do I get sucked into this stuff? Creation science study. This whole freaking site is probably a freaking poll bullshit. Did you know that dinosaurs and man lived together? No, they didn't. If evolution is real, why do caring people like Rick Santorum argue that it must be challenged in the classroom? I've never heard him say that. Why are YouTube atheists like Aaron Ra and Thunderfoot afraid to debate Ray Comfort? We got a lot of Ray Comfort mentions here. Why do we celebrate Christmas if Christianity is not real? Because you're stupid. Well, I mean, I celebrate Christmas. You know, it's a fun holiday. I mean, it's a secularized holiday. I mean, Thursday is named after Thor. Wednesday is named after Odin. But we still call them those days. It doesn't mean we're worshiping Odin or Thor. You know, Christmas is a secularized holiday. I don't have a problem with people saying Merry Christmas in a public building or, I mean, a government building or anything like that. Christmas is secularized. It's about twinkle lights and gifts and turkey and getting together with your loved ones. And showing them how you appreciate them by getting them a gift. Creationists can't do science. And why does the website Answers in Genesis have proven science articles from creationists that do science? No, it doesn't. I don't know what doing science means anyway. I still haven't had that word interpreted for me. And since you're a Poe, I guess I probably shouldn't expect you to, because you're just being fucking stupid. If evolution is true, why can't white people compete in debate? Black people. For white people can't jump. Fucking stupid. Where you decide to fit God in your everyday life if you don't believe in him? I don't. Why is Christianity the fastest growing religion if it's false? I'm not sure it is right now. I think Islam is. And I answered that question earlier. People are going to be religious. I mean, they're always going to be religious. And whether a religion gets big that has no, or any belief gets big has nothing to do with whether it's true or not. Do you feel free to commit murder, homosexuality, go to strip bars, steal, commit adultery, and do other sins since you believe there is no God? No. I do go to strip bars. I don't do that. Steal, commit adultery, and do other sins. Well, I don't do any of those things. I'm not really sure what sins I do commit right now. Since becoming an atheist, let me think if there's any sins that I commit now that I didn't commit before. Well, blasphemy. I mean, I'll say things, criticize beliefs in Jesus, so that's a blasphemy. I think that's really the only sin I commit now that I didn't commit when I was a Christian. I smoked cigarettes when I was a Christian. I drank sometimes. I smoked pot a few times as a Christian. I don't smoke pot now. I had premarital sex as a Christian. I committed adultery as a Christian. Well, I wasn't married at the time, but I had sex with a married woman while I was a Christian. I haven't done that as an atheist, though. So technically, I was a worse person. I committed more sins as a Christian as now, except for the blasphemy thing. I couldn't have committed blasphemy as a Christian. It would have been too uncomfortable for me. So that's your answer to your question. I actually commit far fewer sins now, because of course I'm older now, and now I'm a parent. I've been a parent for the past 16 years. And usually when people get older, they become more mature. So that's probably most of the reason for it. Anyway, 27, where do you decide to fit God in your everyday life? You know, I answer, I'm getting off base. Where's the... Why do fossils say no to evolution? Fossils don't talk. You're being a Poe. Why did Darwin admit that how the eye formed is impossible? No, he said it seems most absurd, is what his actual words were. Since most absurd to the highest degree, I think were his words. Of course, we know how they formed. It formed for a very gradual process. There's a very good video by Richard Dawkins online during the Christmas lecture, where he explains exactly how the eye formed, every single part of that evolution. Every small step in that process would have been beneficial for the creature, from going to light-sensitive cells on the skin to the eyes themselves. covered with a lens and all that kind of thing. It's a very good video on how the eye evolved. Where did everything come from if there is no God? Well, the Big Bang and then evolution. And then the formation of the solar system by laws of thermodynamics and cooling and gravity. If there is no God, then why do we have laws that govern us, such as speed limits? Because people don't want to get killed. We are compassionate. Do you know where you are going when you die? I'm going to die. That's what's going to happen. I don't know, maybe I'll go somewhere. I don't know. I know that I won't go to hell because an omniscient being who knows everything created me and decided he doesn't like me, even though he created me to be a questioning person, and is really super pissed off that I don't believe he exists, so he's going to throw me in a fire. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen because it doesn't make any effing sense. Why do we not act like monkeys if it is true we came from monkeys? Because we're not monkeys anymore. We're humans. We evolved. The traits we have evolved for us to be humans. Or we evolved in different environments than the monkeys. We have larger brains. We are symbolically interactive. If we were going to be continuing to be like monkeys, then we would have stayed physically monkeys. But obviously we had a different path. Why do we display the 10 Commandments in courtrooms if you say the Bible is not real? Because you're an idiot. Why should it be wrong to rape if God is not real? It's not objectively wrong. It's subjectively wrong. Meaning that this is actually a good question. Meaning it's a subjective assertion that I'm incapable of second guessing. So that's why I assert that it is wrong to rape. I am incapable of second guessing it, even though it is subjectively a preference I have. I would rather people not be raped. I would rather that people not be tormented or persecuted in any way or harmed. It is a preference I have, a subjective preference that I am incapable of second guessing because it is an automatic function of my mind and due to the third law of value, which is another long lecture. Why is Passion of the Christ very high in the box office? That was a very long time ago. It's a good movie. That's why. Pretty well made. The topics are relevant. I mean, it captures the spirit of Christianity and Christian feelings, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're going to do that in a movie, and I'm sure Mel Gibson was actually trying to promote Christianity, but I see the artistic merits of it even without that. It's a very good movie. How can America not be a Christian nation if there are way more churches than mosques? Because it's not a... Well, there's a difference between Christian culture and Christian nation. We're not a Christian nation because our Constitution guarantees that we're not. Nation kind of has to do with the government, and we don't have a Christian government. We're not allowed to have one according to the Constitution. How is the Bible not real if it's the most popular book read by man? As I explained plenty of times, whether or not it's popular has nothing to do with whether it's true. How did the moon form? Like I said, every single thing that's round, usually in the solar system, used to be molten. So it formed from, well, scientists think now it's a body hit the Earth that was a similar size during the early solar system. And the debris from that condensed outside the Earth as it was rotating around. It probably was originally kind of moving around the Earth in sort of a ringy kind of, sort of like other planets have rings. And it condensed and formed the moon. But it was molten at one time, just like the Earth was molten at one time. Do you know that famous scientists like Newton, Sir Richard Owen, Galileo, Copernicus were creationists? Yes, I did. Knowledge is cumulative. Well, Einstein was not a creationist. That's bullshit. Yeah, Einstein was not a creationist. He was more of what's called a pantheist. Pretty much every well-known scientist after Darwin believed in evolution. But anyway, knowledge is cumulative. So over time, since you look at old scientists like Newton, he did not have as much information as Einstein did. So He was not so he was still a creationist, or did not believe in evolution because he did not have the information that Einstein has. And modern people have more information than Einstein did. A person with a bachelor's degree in physics today knows a lot more about physics than Einstein ever knew. Why do we not see black people come from white people? Well, actually, sometimes we do. I mean, if the dad was black and the mom's white, then you're going to see a black person come from the white person. Why are fruit flies still fruit flies in lab experiments if they are claimed to prove evolution? Well, okay, that's just a word. It's just a label you're giving for that creature. If you're evolving the fruit flies and it becomes so much different than the other one that it can't reproduce with the other one anymore, then it's obviously undergone speciation. Whether you call that a fruit fly doesn't change that fact. Nothing ever completely loses its biological legacy, so it's never going to be solely different from its ancestors, fruit flies. So to cause you to not give it that label anymore. For instance, we're still tetrapods. The first mammal or the first amphibians were tetrapods, and we're still tetrapods. The first mammals were mammals, and we're still mammals. So, I mean, nothing ever loses biological legacy. Did you know that the Piltdown Man was a hoax used for Darwinist propaganda? Yep, I know that. I don't know if it's used for Darwinist propaganda. I think it was used to make somebody rich. And it was a very clever person who accomplished that. Why do we not see frogs turn into birds? Because they don't. Because evolution doesn't claim that. Why is Fox News dishonest of a network run by truthful Christians? I don't know, Poe. You tell me. Why did Hitler fail to make a superior race if evolution is true? Because we killed him. He wouldn't have made a superior race either anyway. Superiority is subjective. He would have made it a race of bloodthirsty nutcases, which is superior. I don't know if that's superior or not. Doesn't sound superior to me. So let me look at this guy, and let me see. This guy's obviously a Poe. Let's see what else he's written. I don't know why I got sucked into this Poe site. Yeah. David Bowie, hell's newest heathen, and he writes a story about David Bowie. He's trying to say that Bowie's Satan. This guy's a Poe. Should have posed Jurassic World. Let me see if this guy's in any kind of search anywhere. Martin Baker. That's not him. Creationist. I'm sure this guy's a Poe. Polled by Creation Science Study. Yep. And I was successfully polled by them also. It's a satire site. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed me being polled by this guy. You can look at the total time it took me to figure it out. I don't think it was very long, but I kept going with the article because I started reading it, so I thought it would be, if I started doing something, I said I was going to do it, so I might as well finish it. So anyway, I was polled, and I'm glad you enjoyed me being polled, if you enjoyed it. And that is all for now. Clicking this off. Waiting for my camera to reboot because I was off the camera too long. And I have one viewer. Who the hell's watching me? Jesus Christ. Who's my one viewer? Is it me? Is that one viewer me? Do I have my first viewer? Who the hell's my one viewer? The hell's wrong with you? How did anyone watch this? I don't see anyone on there as my one viewer. Anyway, my one viewer is probably me. It's probably open on their tab somewhere, so register me as a viewer. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you watched, I don't know why the fuck you watched it, but you can look at the time it took me to be figured out that I was being PO'd. I don't think it was very long. Rather quickly, I think it was like on the second or third question. Anyway, so thanks for watching my video. We'll be back for some more coffee and bullshit tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.